Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Since Day One. Before we get into this video today about Rkelly, Sparkle, Greg and Valerie Landfair, as well as Dana J, Ashanti McGee, and Rashona Landfair, go ahead and like the video, comment down below, and if you are new, smash that subscribe button to take flight with us.
Fake love, I don't need it, you can keep it as a fact. I had to make up my mind. I took that weight on my shoulder. I done been down for so long.
Y'all, every time I make a Rkelly update, you guys, I be so happy to just know that he is locked up, y'all, and that he is not getting out. I mean, just the whole mute Rkelly movement, the whole surviving Rkelly movement, you guys. Like, we really did our thing. Like, we need to give ourselves a pat on the back because we are great. We some great investigators. We some great detectives. I feel like that the only difference between his last verdict, you guys, and this verdict is the fact that the internet in the 1990s, in the early 2000s, hell, even 2008 ain't got nothing on the internet from 2021. And I really feel like we helped lock him up, y'all. Like, we need to give ourselves a pat on the back. Let me tell y'all, Rkelly was convinced that he could not be touched. He was convinced that he was gonna get away with it and that we was 30 years too late, y'all.
I am handcuffed like a lot of you motherfuckers. I'm handcuffed by my destiny. It's too late. They should have did this shit 30 years ago. It's too late. The music has been injected into the world. Okay? I hired my motherfucking self. I want to propose a toast to all the strong motherfuckers in here right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Motherfuckers like you is why I still continue to do what I do, because I have a basketball mentality. You understand? Well, as long as I got the ball, the world is on defense.
Y'all, if he didn't sound so loud and so wrong, because if we was 30 years too late, baby, you wouldn't even be in the situation that you was in right now. I told y'all he was guilty. He was so guilty, y'all, that YouTube decided to pull 2 of Rkelly's official channels from the video platform after he was found guilty in his New York trial, y'all. YouTube stated that we can confirm that we have terminated 2 channels linked to Rkelly in accordance with our creator responsibility guidelines. YouTube's creator responsibility guidelines state that the company might remove a user for on and or off platform behavior that we may consider to be inappropriate. The guidelines continue by saying that a user can be penalized for quote unquote participating in violence, demonstrating cruelty, or participating in fraudulent/deceptive behavior leading to real world harm. The 2 channels in question are Rkelly TV and Rkelly Vevo, both of which now display messages letting users know that the accounts have been terminated. Egregious actions committed by Rkelly warrant penalties beyond standard enforcement measures due to a potential to cause widespread harm. Ultimately, we are taking this action to protect our users similar to other platforms. However, YouTube also stated that this doesn't mean Rkelly is being scrubbed from YouTube. His music will still be available on YouTube Music and his tunes are allowed in YouTube videos. Although you may search Rkelly, you will not find his Rkelly TV or his Rkelly Vevo. However, there is a YouTube channel called Rkelly Topic that is internet generated by Google. I've been saving all of this good Rkelly tea for y'all. So tell me why, you guys. I seen this on another YouTube channel. However, I thought that it was fake news because when I went to go search for the article, I couldn't find it that day, y'all. But I ran across it today and I realized, like, dang, it's real. I need to tell my people. But I know that y'all probably didn't already heard about fans reacting to claims that Rkelly plans to snitch on multiple celebrities' dark past. And allegedly, Rkelly is wanting to take vengeance against people in the industry who didn't appear to have his back after his incarceration. And just when y'all had thought that the Rkelly situation couldn't get any more bizarre, according to a person close to Rkelly, the R&B singer is hoping to work with federal prosecutors to have his prison sentence reduced. Rkelly wants to barter with prosecutors information he has on other quote-unquote celebrities who he claims has or is engaging in illegal contact with underage girls. The insider who has known Rkelly for decades explained to us that Rkelly and his team are working with the feds to reduce his prison time. He'll provide evidence against other celebrities who were pedos and they'll reduce his sentence. Of course, that doesn't really narrow it down. Over his years as a producer, Rkelly has worked with some of the biggest names in the business, including Jay-Z, Usher, Justin Bieber, Nick Cannon, Chance the Rapper, Chris Brown, Ja Rule. Heck, he's even collaborated with Lady Gaga and Celine Dion, and who knows who else he's just hung out with running in those circles. Well, moving along, R. Kelly's ex-protege, Sparkle, aka Stephanie Edwards, aka the auntie of Rashona Landfair, who was the 14-year-old girl who appeared on the videotape with R. Kelly back in the 90s. Well, I'm just here to read y'all a little article that I found online via this website called The Cut. And The Cut also has a podcast called The Cut Podcast. Sparkle appeared on their podcast, you guys, and basically answered various questions that the host had for her. And I'm actually here to read it to you guys. Y'all know how we get down, so let's go ahead and tune in to what Sparkle had to say. The ladies who are hosting the podcast, their names are Angelina and Jasmine. So if you see those in the text, those are who those people are talking to Sparkle. Angelina pops off the conversation and says, so Sparkle is a singer and she was R. Kelly's protege back in the late 90s. She did a very popular duet with R. Kelly called Be Careful that had millions of listens and was on the top of the charts. She's probably most well known for that song. Sparkle responds and says, Little Diana is what they call me. Diana Ross, Little Diane. It was like everybody loves Sparkle. Sparkle's great. She's dope. She can sing. I love the way she dresses, her hair, her style, her everything. So Angelina continues and says, so it's the late 90s and Sparkle's career's taking off. She also has a niece who's looking to get into music. She's 12 and she's an aspiring rapper, so she thought. Well, who better to help her achieve success than the king of R&B? It was supposed to be a positive relationship that she had set up. So in 2000, Sparkle decided to stop working with R. Kelly musically. She wanted to make her second album on her own, and around the same time, this is 2001, she starts hearing from people inside of R. Kelly's camp, former friends of hers, people who work with him that like, hey, your niece is in R. Kelly's studio a lot. She's by herself. She's unsupervised. Nobody told her anything specific, but she just started to get the feeling that something was not right. Sparkle goes on to say, so I would give calls to my sister and say, hey, I'm hearing rumblings. You may want to check this out. Your niece is down here at the studio by herself with no parental guidance. She's just wandering the halls. And not to say that I thought something was going on at the time. The studio has a bunch of seedy things happening in different rooms. You could be drinking, smoking, just the whole gamut. Angelina asked Sparkle, and what would her response be during those years? Sparkle responded, oh no, she's fine. That's her godfather. Everything is fine. And I was like, look, we didn't grow up that way. Angelina responded, Sparkle couldn't shake the worry, so she ended up calling child services and saying, can you look into this? Sparkle continued, I did that anonymously because I didn't want people saying, oh, she's a disgruntled ex-protege of R. Kelly's, and I'm just an auntie. I can go no further than what I did, and because the law state, if I'm not a parent or guardian, then Angelina said she didn't have a lot of rights, so she kind of just had to wait and see what happened until later that same year. We're still in 2001 when she gets a call from a lawyer. Sparkle says he called my home phone. Don't ask me how people were getting my home phone number. I do not know. Angelina says that the lawyer who contacted Sparkle said that he had a tape that he wanted her to see. Sparkle expressed that she was horrified and she was disgusted. It's one thing to hear things, but to actually see, it's a different thing. Angelina said, who's this lawyer and what's his connection to the case? Do you remember how he found out about it? Or Sparkle says, I don't remember. Chicago, it's a big city, but it's small. So if somebody saw the tape before me, maybe they told him who that could be. So he reached out to me in hopes that I could get my sister and brother-in-law to take him on to represent him. He showed me that tape and I called the family and they wanted to see it. Then minutes later, no, we don't want to see it. Halt everything. I'm assuming Robert got to them. Angelina responded, and her theory is that R. Kelly somehow threatened them or whatever. I mean, she doesn't know and she doesn't like to speculate, but from her experience, the door was shut and her family cut off contact. Sparkle continued, it floored me, absolutely floored me, because we were very, very close, like very, very close. But you're mad at me for what? How could you not want to put this man where he belongs? Angelina responded and said, and you still don't have an answer to that question? Sparkle says, I don't have an answer. I want an answer to that. Angelina responded and said, what a difficult situation. You're speaking out for someone who maybe doesn't want you to speak for them. So what's the right thing to do? I think it's a valid moral quandary, and I could only imagine the intention of the person I love who I'm trying to shield from this won't even talk to me and doesn't even seem to want this. What am I doing? Sparkle responded, I'm sorry, but he was the one who did wrong. Who would still be around a person who has violated their kid? I don't know anybody who would be okay with that, and I'm trying to grasp, how are you guys not getting this? Sparkle continues and says, this person has violated your daughter, my niece, who is 14 years old, for my family to not see what is there. And then the kicker for me is that even in knowing what he did, you still are going to his concerts, going to his parties, going to his home. You're still engaged with him. Angelina responded and said she was horrified, but Sparkle, being Sparkle, was also spurred to action. She's just the kind of person who can't sit by if something like that happens to anybody. Sparkle continued, I think first I called my sister-in-law because she was a cop. She was a Chicago cop at the time. She informed me what to do. I called the authorities. Some detectives came out, took my statement, and they told me that their hands were tied. Angelina responded to Sparkle and said, I don't think there are words to describe what that must have been like. This is the infamous P tape. If you know anything about what Rkelly's done, you know about the P tape. It was mocked widely, and it became, unfortunately, sort of a cultural phenomenon. So in 2003, Dave Chappelle mocked Rkelly's singing style and overt sexuality, but it just made light of something serious, and the culture was not grasping the severity of what Rkelly was doing to these girls. Jasmine chimed in and said, I don't even really remember knowing that the girls were underage, especially when that Dave Chappelle skit came out. It didn't even occur to me until much later that these were children. Angelina responded and said, I don't think that's what he was trying to make a commentary on. I think it was just sort of like, it's crazy Rkelly has a pee kink. This was sort of the extent. I don't even think Dave Chappelle was going so far as to say that he likes them young as well. That wasn't the takeaway. Another thing is that the tapes were being bootlegged. They were being sold on the street corners. This was something that people thought was funny and kinky, and something that they could just watch in their dark basements, not something he should go to trial for. It was just a twisted reaction from the culture, and it was made into a pop culture moment rather than a crime. And Jasmine recalled, while that is happening, he does eventually go to trial. So was that trial the same trial about this tape, about this girl? Angelina responds and says, so in the 2008 trial, all the charges stem from this particular video of this girl, charges stemming from 2002. So it took 6 years for him to go to trial, which is a long time, and acted in his favor because people have short memories. Other stuff happens. By the time he took the stand, the P tape was a bit of a distant memory. It's an interesting trial because the niece and her parents refused to testify, and the fact that he was acquitted is largely attributed to their absence. And if y'all kept up with all the research that I did about Rkelly in 2019 and early 2020, then y'all will know that I've already found out for y'all that Greg Landfair and his wife Valerie Landfair allegedly accepted money from Rkelly to fly their daughter and her group called For the Cause overseas to Europe so that they could go on a quote-unquote fake tour, while their daughter was really supposed to be in court testifying against Rkelly because she was the main witness. And when she wasn't there to testify, that's when her daddy Greg Landfair got on the stand, you guys, and told them people that that was not his daughter on that tape, when he knew dang well that that was his daughter on that tape. Online of Rashonda wearing the same hairstyle that she has in the video of Rkelly. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys catch up on the rest of the video. I'm going to put a little background music down for you guys, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, you guys, so you can see the picture to the right and you can see the video. Please tell me that y'all can recognize her hairstyle. So Jasmine responded and said, so where is Sparkle in all of this? She's watching this unfold. She's watching the court case. Was she called to the stand, or was she asked to testify or anything like that? Angelina responded and said, yeah, she did testify. You can imagine throughout this trial how much would she want to just be able to know what her niece and her family are going through, but she had no access to the most affected people and no way of finding solace in another. She's just completely iced out. Sparkle responded and said, when it did come back that he got off, I was disappointed. Wow, that's all I could say was wow. I had no other words to say. Angelina said she went into a depression. She just had some health issues. She was diagnosed with early onset diabetes from all the stress and ended up in the hospital for 5 days and was in a dark place. I mean, she felt hopeless and felt like, what's the point in speaking out? Nobody's ready to hear this. It cost Sparkle her career and her family. Sparkle said they were lonely years. Even in those 10 years, estranged from my family, homeless at a point, I spoke and took all of the backlash and would do it again because I don't give a F. I'm sorry, excuse my language. I don't give a F who has anything to say about it. I did what was right at the right time. I didn't wait a day, a month, a year, or 5 or 10 to speak it. I wanted it to be known. Angelina responded and said, I think of Sparkle as one of the OG whistleblowers with Rkelly. I mean, there's the journalist at the Chicago Sun-Times who has broken open this story and made it widely accessible to the public. But Sparkle sort of alongside him was always saying Rkelly abuses children. My niece was one of his victims, and this video is not funny. This is criminal evidence, and she's been ringing the alarm bell for the past 2 decades and faced some very serious consequences for doing so. Sparkle responded and said industry people took their boots and their skirts and they hiked them up and they ran for the hills. You can feel it. Angelina said in the 2008 trial, Rkelly was acquitted, so all those people who just wanted to bump and grind to his music had a legal excuse to do so. You could say whatever you wanted about the guy, but the law came down and absolved him. For a while, like the next 10 years, it was up to the individual person what they wanted to do about his music. So Sparkle became prominent again in 2019 when she was a part of the Lifetime documentary Surviving Rkelly, which was explosive. It garnered a lot of attention to the case, and it sort of shook viewers into having a look starkly at what these women were saying because they all had these first-hand interviews with accusers telling awful stories of being abused by Rkelly. It revived the narrative of did he illegally marry Aaliyah, who was underage at the time? Jasmine chimed in and said, and nobody talked about it. Angelina said that was pretty effed up. He got her a fake ID. All those details are put together. Sparkle responded and said, now the people saw that I was telling the truth. As a human, you want vindication. They can't give me enough of vindication of the ish that I've gone through. That can only come from God. Trust and believe me, because at the drop of a dime, they will flip-flop on you in a minute. Angelina said every time she's spoken out until this point, it had been Sparkle is a liar, Sparkle's a disgruntled protege, Sparkle's a clout chaser. And finally, after the documentary, yes, she was still getting that hate, but it was complemented by young girls and young women sliding into her DMs saying things like, I wish you were my auntie, I wish you were my protector, thank you so much for speaking out, I had such a horrible thing happen to me, and I wish I had someone like you in my life to be my defender. Angelina continued, so I think that was a turning point for her. Sparkle said there are more tapes, there are more people who've come forward, thankfully, and they don't just have to rely on my testimony or my words anymore. Angelina said, did you feel like you were carrying the torch of this? Sparkle says, yeah, I honestly did. I felt like it was just me and I had to cover my niece because nobody else was. And that's how I felt the loneliness of that. I don't think folks wanted to hear it. They weren't ready. They didn't want to hear it. And my brother, another brother of mine, he would always say to me, look, Steph, if they don't give a F about their daughter, then why should you? Why do you keep fighting this fight? She said, because I have to. I know this is the right thing. This is about my family, and it's always been about my family. It's never been about him because, like I said, I will lay down again in front of the Mack truck and take it all over again. I lay down on the ground for my niece and these young girls. Angelina says that Sparkle has gotten the message that her family doesn't want that contact. And at this point in Sparkle's life, Sparkle is at a place where if her family wants to come to her, she'll receive them. I think she wants to mend that relationship, but it's not the kind of thing that she's going to initiate. But thinking of her niece, it is incredibly painful not to know what her niece thinks or feels. She does hold hope that one day her niece might say something to the effect of, hey, it took me a while, but I'm glad that you spoke out. We know that she is now cooperating with the federal investigator, so there's some indication that she might want justice too. She might one day want to speak out, at least in a legal context. That's the only clue Sparkle has that maybe her niece supports her speaking out as as well. Sparkle responded and said, I have to see this assignment through. The takeaway for me is the strength to carry this on my back alone without a Me Too or a Time's Up. I wish there was something like that back then, and even with Me Too now, I didn't even know that it was for black women. We are so marginalized as women for our skin color. And then it says at the bottom, R. Kelly will be sentenced for his crimes in May. There are still several other federal and state cases against R. Kelly still pending. So moving along to Rashona Landfair's parents, you guys, Greg Landfair and his wife, Valerie Landfair. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and be nice and just say that although y'all did not want to help y'all daughter back in the day to get justice, that I still send my condolences out to Greg Landfair, you guys, because he passed away 2 months ago, and I literally just found out the other day, and I was kind of angry because I felt like, dang, bro, like he not even gonna get to face his demons. Like he not even gonna have to do any type of jail time, you guys, for the part that he played, and what happened to his daughter. And what it is for me, y'all, like, is the fact that he is proud of the work that he did with R. Kelly. He is proud of it. Well, he was proud of it.
My son approached me about it. I've never did anything about it planned, and so be it. That's what you're gonna get. Some raw emotion, nothing that was preconceived or anything like that. I played probably, the most noted artist is gonna be R. Kelly. I'm on a lot of his stuff. I played on the Twisted track.
Anybody that knows me knows that my father was my heart. An entire piece of me is missing. But it's one thing that I can say here and I can say with strength and honor is that no matter what I went through, whether I was up or whether I was down, or whether I was forsaken, he never left my side. He never judged me. Anything that I did or who I was, it only made him love me more. He taught me how to love my son, and he showed me a love that I've never experienced before.
Well, moving along, you guys, it was brought to my attention something else that I really didn't even know, because y'all know that once R. Kelly went to jail in July of 2019, that I really basically stopped talking about him. So a lot of the stuff that a lot of bloggers and other people on the internet was finding out, I really wasn't reporting on. So this might be old news, y'all, but allegedly, Rashona Landfair, which is the 14-year-old girl that was on that tape with R. Kelly back in the day, y'all, allegedly has a baby by this guy named Dana J. Now, again, I don't know how true this is, but I did find it on the internet. There's been multiple people and sources speaking on this same exact thing, so I don't want to hear y'all mouth. Don't y'all do it. And if y'all do not know who Dana J is, then he is basically one of the R. Kelly supporters. Like, I guess that he's, his title is R. Kelly's security guard or something like that. But if you was keeping up with R. Kelly's New York trial, then you would have noticed that when R. Kelly's lawyer had talked to the press and whatnot, that there was a big black man in a gray sweater standing behind the lawyer, and that was Dana J, y'all. He's still in cahoots with R. Kelly to this day. And the baby that he is holding right here in this picture is allegedly Rashona Landfair's baby. Now, I don't make the news, I just report it. Allegedly, the infamous tape sold as a bootleg on the streets of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago was notorious. It showed the R&B singer R. Kelly having contact with and urinating on a girl who prosecutors said was barely a teenager. Our Scandal Media Street Committee has learned that one of R. Kelly's bodyguards, Dana Jackson, who goes by the nickname of Dana J, has a baby by the girl that was on the videotape with R. Kelly, and fed star witness Rashona Landfair. Rashona is expected to testify at trial about how R. Kelly did things to her and urinated on her in his infamous video when she was only 14 years old. And moving along, you guys, one last thing before we get up out of here. Y'all remember early on in the video that I told y'all that word on the street was that R. Kelly is getting ready to snitch on some big celebrities for doing the same thing that he was doing with their nasty butt. Well, I ran across some select videos of R. Kelly with some select celebrities, and y'all already know I had to bring it to y'all attention.
Thank you, heaven. I was born to some drums, motherfucker, in the village of West Africa. My mother and my father did not fuck this nigga song. That nigga is a liar. I was born to some drums.
He was born to my motherfucking music.
That's a damn lie. Drums.
My music got drums in it, motherfucker.
Drums and voodoo, motherfucker.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
And the blood infections all we give out in my village.
You make me look light-skinned.
Okay, nigga, I'm gonna steal the rest of your furniture, motherfucker.
I'm ashamed of me. Ashamed of all the lies I told.
Yeah. Believe. Is this a?
This is right here. All right.
You remember Tyrese, my little brother, don't you?
Sleeping from sofa to sofa. Now I'ma step on these little bitty bitches. In some brand new Gucci low, some Gucci walking. I got tired of eating Big Mama's chicken. Now it's business when I walk out.